That stunning launch, a new American rocket built not by NASA, but by billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk.
NASA and SpaceX launching a history-making mission today.
Falcon, Dragon, Starlink, Starship, Starman. SpaceX has become synonymous with spaceflight and achieved what many thought was impossible. 20 years after it was first established, SpaceX remains a force in a class of its own, breaking records and setting the standard in spaceflight. And once again, the company has shocked the world, performing 3 launches in less than 2 days. How did this happen? What more can we expect from SpaceX? Let's find out just how much SpaceX is changing the space industry. Space travel has never been cheap. In its developmental phases and during the bitter rivalry between the Soviet Union and the United States, successful space travel would cost up to billions of dollars, including the risks astronauts faced any time they stepped onto a spacecraft. Why do you think no private players were entering the industry? Now that technology has improved and interest in space travel is at an all-time high, private companies like Boeing, Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, and Elon Musk's SpaceX have joined the industry. But these companies are mainly working under the mandate of NASA, with funds from the space agency to work on their most important projects. This is because space travel is still very expensive, and government involvement is needed to make progress. Space travel has also been considered a not-for-profit industry, and any achievements were mainly to gain bragging rights over other countries. What makes space travel so expensive is that most of its parts are not reusable. A rocket has 2 main parts: the upper stage, where you have the control center and space for the astronauts, and the lower stage, or booster, that propels the rocket into space. Once the booster has pushed the upper stage into orbit, it comes back down completely useless. Another booster would have to be developed from scratch and meet the same fate once it is used. Each rocket booster of NASA's new mega rocket, the SLS, costs more than $290 million. Imagine how much NASA has to spend every time the rocket is launched. But SpaceX came up with a different idea: reusable rockets. Well, SpaceX is not the first company to come up with the idea of reusable rockets. Other companies have tried, but landing a booster rocket upright and without serious damage was not an easy thing to do. Most experiments ended up in complete failure, and considering how much it cost to create a single booster rocket, most companies and space agencies decided to stick to the old method rather than pouring resources into a concept that showed no promise. SpaceX and Elon Musk faced the same problem in the beginning. Every attempt to land the Falcon 9 booster ended in a fiery failure, but when the Falcon 9 rocket was fully ready to use, so was its booster. SpaceX found a way to make reusable boosters work. The test for the reusable booster officially began in 2014, and by 2017, SpaceX did its first relaunch of a previously flown Falcon 9 booster. In 2018, the company attempted to do the same with the Falcon Heavy, and succeeded in recovering the 2-side booster even though the core booster was completely damaged. Elon Musk and SpaceX achieved something that most space agencies thought was impossible, and changed space travel forever. With its reusable rocket, SpaceX is now 10 times cheaper than NASA, with the Falcon Heavy being able to carry more payload into space. SpaceX rockets are not only competitive when compared to historic rockets and flights, but is in a whole class of its own when compared with present-day rockets. The price of payload for a Falcon Heavy launch starts at $90 million, which is about 5 times cheaper than the Delta IV Heavy developed by the United Launch Alliance, which is jointly owned by Boeing and Lockheed Martin. The total development cost for the Falcon 9 rocket, the company's workhorse, tied at approximately $390 million. And according to NASA, if the rocket had been developed by the agency, it would have cost between $1.7 to $4 billion. This means that the Falcon 9 is 4 to 10 times cheaper than any rocket NASA could have developed with the same capability. The story is the same with the Falcon Heavy, costing between $500 to $750 million to create, which is absurdly low cost when compared to NASA's SLS, which had a cost of $21.2 billion. SpaceX's record-breaking achievement with its rockets made spaceflight more mainstream. With the help of the company, more people can visit the ISS and can finally dream of humanity returning to the moon for the first time in half a century. Although there is no established timeline yet, and the company still has a lot of hurdles to cross, space lovers now believe that it is possible to get to Mars someday. And if anyone can do it, it is Elon Musk. It is fair to say that SpaceX has been a dominant force in space travel in its 20 years of existence, breaking records set by previous rockets to the joy of space lovers all over. So when the company successfully launched 3 Falcon 9 rockets in less than 34 hours, it went down as one of the most impressive feats till date. The original plan was way more intense, as the company planned to launch 2 rockets just minutes apart and planned to launch all 3 rockets in less than 12 hours. The company later settled for something less intense, but still impressive, and was able to successfully launch an Earth observation satellite, some commercial communication satellites for private companies, and also sent 54 Starlink satellites into orbit. This impressive and unexpected achievement is just an extension of SpaceX's earlier feat, where the company managed 3 Falcon 9 rockets in 36 hours and marked the 100th successful Falcon booster reuse. The latest launch made SpaceX's expertise more obvious, as each booster was successfully landed after the launch and will be used again for more missions. Against all odds, the company relentlessly executed a launch week after week in 2022 and closed the year exceeding Elon Musk's ambitious goal to have 60 Falcon launches in the year. So, what's the goal for SpaceX in 2023? Last year, the company quietly led both private and government space agencies all over the world to snatch the world record title of having the most launches in a single year. And this year, it is only going to get better. SpaceX intends to maintain its top spot in the industry and break all previous records set by the company. For Elon Musk, the sky is certainly not the limit, as the ever-ambitious CEO wants to double the company's launch rate and achieve 100 launches before the year runs to about an end. That's about 2 launches every week. Is it going to be challenging? Yes, but SpaceX has already geared into action with a fantastic launch of the Falcon Heavy just last week, carrying the U.S. Space Force's continuous broadcast communications satellite into space. After the launch, the company recovered 2 of the Falcon Heavy's rocket's first-stage boosters. After burning most of their fuel, the side booster fell back to Earth, and as they entered the Earth's atmosphere, the boosters reignited their engines and completed a synchronized landing near the ground pads in Cape Canaveral. The company will collect and reuse the side boosters to continue to drive down the cost of launches, but the company will not collect the core booster. SpaceX plans to launch the Starship prototype for its first ever orbital flight. Everyone expected the launch to happen before 2022 came to a close, but SpaceX is taking slow steps in developing the Starship and making sure that all issues are addressed before the launch happens. Musk announced in a tweet that the company is in the final stage of preparations to get the Starship off the ground. The company still has to conduct a full 33-engine static fire test of the Booster 7 before sending the rocket into orbit, and there's no telling how that would go. But when all 33 engines of the Booster 7 roar to life during the static fire test, it would mark the start of the launch of the most powerful rocket ever to exist.